All right, boys, Charles has done it again. Over at Battle Ready Arms, he has done it once again. As you know, the Glock 19 might be one of the most boring handguns ever created, and I don't mean that as an insult. In fact, I mean that as a compliment. Because some of the reasons why it's so boring are also the same exact reasons why it's the perfect blank slate, the perfect canvas to create something wonderful from, and ultimately serves as an excellent foundation to make your own custom build. Today I want to walk you through my fully custom Glock 19, what's been done to it, why I chose these upgrades, and what I would recommend and speak highly of, as well as the things that maybe I'm not the biggest fan of on it as well. Whether this kind of build makes sense in a real world application and for the role in which you may or may not intend it to serve. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ben with the Korean Marksman, and here we talk about guns and cool stuff. Before we dive too deep in, I want to say that the heart of this build has been done by Charles over at Battle Ready Arms. That was done free of charge. There's no obligation here to even make a video or to rave about it or talking points or anything, so I want to get that out of the way. Also, thank some supporters of the channel who make content like this free. We got DK Mags, they're a gun store. They sell guns, holsters, ammunition, although my code doesn't qualify for that. Accessories, parts, anything, NFA items, anything you could ever want. Use code TKM5 on their website to get 5% off anything shipped to your door or to your FFL, kind of whatever legally makes sense. If you need ammunition though, check out Buffalo Creek Ammunition. Use code TKM5 there as well to save 5% on your order, shipped straight to your door. And then Eberl Stock, they got great bags and tools for everyday life. Use code TKM10 to save 10% off your order there. Thanks to all those guys. And all of the kind of like links and stuff can be found in a little landing page down in the description. So just out of the box, a bone stock Glock 19 is already a solved problem. Like, even though it does serve as a great canvas, there's no issue with it. It's not like some guns where you have to, a lot of Turkish guns to be honest, where you have to make upgrades, like you're obligated to, before you can trust the thing with your life. The Glock is reliable. It's simple and it works. It also is slick in the hands, a little mushy in the trigger, and a bit leaving some meat on the bone when it comes to the sights. And then of course visually, it is absolutely uninspiring. Now if these things don't matter to you, go ahead, click off the video right now, that's cool. Or if you feel like the Glock Gen 6 can address these things for you, go ahead, rent one, buy one, check that out. But if you want a little bit more, that's why you're here. For me, the goal wasn't to turn this gun into a race gun, a competition setup, or a safe queen. The goal was to refine and even customize the Glock formula without sacrificing all of its benefits. So in my mind, every modification on this gun had to really earn its place, and I had to put time behind it so that I could audit whether or not I've gone too far. So working from tip to butt on the gun, first off is the porting. This gun started as a 19C. It still is a 19C, of course, under its serial number. And so those ports that you see furthermost this way are the ones that came from the factory. These three are the Cerberus port from Battle Ready Arms and were added. This just gives me ultimate recoil reduction and mitigation. Follow-up shots are actually insanely fast, and some of that has to do with the trigger, which I will talk about. Maybe downsides with what I have done with the porting. I didn't notice this with just the standard 19C ports, but since adding the Cerberus port, the fireball and the flash is definitely noticeable. And the bark of the gun, because it is venting these gases, it is louder. However, with the recoil that it can mitigate, I would highly recommend stacking these ports, and I think it's wonderful. I think this is at the top end of what you should be doing. I don't think you should have more than two like dedicated ports on a gun. I mean, you see that with 2011s these days, double stacked 1911s, of having like a chunk port at the front and then maybe like the V8 ports or some of those top portings. And this to me feels like an equivalent or very similar version of that. And I think this is the point of diminishing returns realized, so I'm gonna stick with that. The one downside, if you are an iron sights guy, of putting ports in front of the sight is it tends to muck them up with black carbon, and then that sight, whether it's a night sight or fiber optic, becomes blacked out and kind of occluded and muddy. Next up is the Olight. This is their PLX weapon light, and this thing is brand new. It has two different ways that you can kind of focus the beam. One is optimized for candela and kind of tightness and focus. And then the second beam pattern is a broader one. It gets you 1200 lumens max. The box is nice. It has kind of like an Apple style opening to it. And they did send this out to me for free, so I'm gonna be reading some specs to you guys. Before this light, I was running the Streamlight TLR1 HLX, which is a great light, but it does hang off the front a good bit, which could be an advantage if you're worried about making contact with somebody or firing it up against somebody. It's less likely that in cycling the gun, a malfunction will be induced, because that extra distance you get allows the gun to cycle. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. It allows it to cycle unimpeded. But I would argue, like, if you're focused on carrying this gun, or yeah, probably mostly carry, this light is optimized for this length of gun. In the box, you get some tools. You get a Glock rail adapter as well as a 1913 Picatinny rail adapter. You get a charging cable. So those two modes are Spotlight or Floodlight. Okay, so Spotlight gives you 900 lumens at like full charge, and then the more that the battery discharges, the less output you get. So just keep that in mind. But then Floodlight gives you 1200 lumens. Spotlight also gives you 22,500 candela, which will amplify the perceived brightness of someone on the other end of the gun. And then Floodlight gives you 3,310 candela. So for me, I'm just gonna be keeping this on Spotlight mode for kind of a self-defense scenario, as well as positive identification, because that's what gets you that 150 meter, right, distance. So it's a sick light. I think I have a link for you guys down in the description below. To charge it, you just pop open this port and it's USB-C, nice and easy. I'm liking the shift from removable batteries for like carry guns, non-duty guns, non-like wartime guns, because sometimes it is nice to just have batteries on hand. If it's dead, you just pop it out. You don't have to sit it on a charger. But for a more civilian laid back application, I think this is perfect. And I think that convenience trade, it makes sense. Next up is the Cerakote. It started with like an inspiration photo of the build, of something I found online, and then Charles went ahead and just turned this into its very own custom, like this is the first gun ever he did this paint scheme on, and now I think he's gonna be offering it to the general public. So you can call it the Korean Marksman Camo. That's not what it's gonna be called whatsoever. I think it looks sick. I think the slide only, now I do have a 2011 where I did frame only FDE camo on, and that looks sick, so I wanted to flip it for this one, and I think it looks wonderful. If you send off your slide to get slide work done and paint done, it's just logistically easier than sending a serialized part in with FFLs and stuff. He did some lightening cuts on the sides here as well, and then added some aggressive serrations that you guys may or may not be able to tell. This lighting's not amazing. This is a temporary setup here. And then put some branding on it. That's kind of the typical thing he does with that Cerberus package. My optic does sit quite forward, but I do think I could sneak in a rear sight post there if I wanted to, which I might one day. I'm getting hot, guys. Holy smokes. Gonna take off the hoodie here. This thing's been awesome. It's fully enclosed and kind of has that EPS style where you can just put in screws. No adapter plates needed, so it can sit nice and low and securely to the gun. And I've been enjoying the optic a lot. Yeah, it's their Wolf EDG actually. So it says it on the side. They sent that out to me for free too. I'm not paying for anything, guys. I'm cheap. Next up was he did a lot of stuff to the frame. He didn't paint it and made it darker gray, which might be hard to tell, but it does contrast with the black of what the gun used to be on the stippling. With the custom stippling, he did a lot of nice things. He added gas pedals and ledges on both sides, as well as some gnarly texture. He did a single undercut and then texture there, which I always like having texture underneath that index point, so I can really pinch in and feel very secure there. And then he added a hump here, if you guys can tell, and then kind of dug in underneath that beaver tail so you can get high up and feel like that webbing of your thumb really sits in there flush. The attention to detail and everything with the stippling is just so clean. These lines are razor sharp. Definitely a major improvement over what I had done previously. For the trigger, I have the Glock Performance trigger. And he also polished the internals. He wasn't sure if that would make a big difference because the performance trigger already is pretty optimized for the platform. But I will say it did make a difference. And this thing is as good of a Glock trigger that I feel like you can get. So very solid take up and you hit a wall. Probably a 4.5 pound break or so. And then that reset is nice and positive, very positive. I'm finally not pissed at my Glock trigger. Other than that, the last upgrade is the magazine I use. This is the Terran Tactical James Reese inspired from the Terminalist series season 1. He ran the carry bagwell from Terran as well as the +3 base pad. So this gives me 18+1 gun. And I think it's great for if you're a bigger guy and you conceal it, as well as this gun serves my kind of nightstand home defense gun purposes. So just gives me a few extra rounds to sling. I've had no issues with it in terms of reliability or breaking in, and everything works as expected. I can't remember if it came with a spring, or if you reuse the Glock springs. I think you reuse the Glock spring. I believe if you went to like a +5 base pad, then you would have to do it, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. So this gun doesn't feel overdone. It doesn't feel fragile or too pretty. Like I feel the full confidence of throwing in a bag without protecting it in a soft case. It's still a Glock, so I'm going to treat it like that. It just feels more refined, predictable, controllable, and it's really fast, especially for a 19. And so the question is a build like this worth it? I'm not sure what sticker price is on this gun after it's all said and done. I would say yes, but I would definitely say like working up to it, which is the nice thing about a Glock is that you typically start off with just the Glock. And then you have the option to scale scale with time and then scale as finances allow. And that's typically my approach with almost all of my builds, unless I just get something banger for free. There's pros and cons for that mindset and that approach for sure. But I like it because you get more time behind the gun as opposed to waiting for finances to build up and then dropping, 3K on a Terran Tactical Glock. But ultimately, I want to make sure that you guys know, even though you do already, that you don't need to build a Glock like this for it to work or for it to be a great home defense gun. Sure, you might need the light. The optic might serve you well, and ports definitely help. Trigger stuff, all that cool stuff. But at the end of the day, it really is the archer and not the arrow. So make sure you're spending time training and using that Buffalo Creek ammo to get time and rounds and reps behind it consistently so that your skills don't perish and you don't rely on the gear to do the work for you, because that just won't play out how you might think in a real world scenario. So as always, if you train regularly and you care about consistency, recoil control, as well as a bit of personalization, I think this is 1000% worth it. And I think Battle Ready Arms is the way to go. I'll try and throw a link to their page. I don't think I have a code for them or anything I could ask about setting that up, so I'll put that on screen if that is materialized. But yeah, go check them out and give them some love. If you got questions about any of the individual stuff, please drop them in the comment section below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. As always, I love you. Stay safe. God bless you and your families. And remember to live a life worth defending. I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.